Good Wednesday morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Morning.
All right. We're lively this morning. Let's go. Who wants to share something? Who's got a win? Tracy.
I'm pretty excited. Was able to find a house for my seller, so satisfied the suitable housing in the purchase and sales. So and got it 10,000 under asking, so that was even better win.
Awesome. Awesome. Just talking a little bit about what the structure of the suitable housing clause was. How'd you word this one when you put the deal together?
So the person who's buying my client's house, they told us that they want to give us time to find property, and they said that they waived the home inspection on the house and would wait to apply for the mortgage until they applied for the mortgage but aren't going to order the appraisal until today. So they were waiting for us to find suitable housing, so they wouldn't have to worry about rate locks and all that good stuff. So I think it timed it pretty well because the rates are dropping anyways. So yeah.
But did you put any kind of a timeline on it?
We off the record, we didn't put anything in the purchase and sales. There's no timeline in the offer, no timeline in the purchase and sales. But I had good communication with the buyer's agent, so that way, they were rest assured that we were looking. We were being very proactive about finding a property. So no, there was no deadline in there for the suitable housing anywhere written.
Did you have a property that was fairly competitive, the one that you were selling? Did you have a lot of offers on it? Or
Yeah,
was
we
this
we had we had a couple of offers on it, and it was the neighborhood it's in. Homes have sold for the similar price or higher. And the comps, I checked the comps. The comps are still good. I try to keep an eye on those because I know we still have the appraisal to come in. So keeping an eye on the market to make sure the market's not tanking in any way for this size, number of bedrooms and baths, and location. A
yeah,
little bit
so
more
it just
legwork, but
there's a lot that goes into making this decision, and that's why I just kind of wanted to see how you attacked it. Like when you're on the buy side, so Tracy's got the seller here, but if you're on the buy side, like I don't love just an open-ended, hey Tracy, hope your guys find suitable housing. Now, if I'm in a competitive situation, that might be what I've got to put in my offer to get it accepted. But I would like to, if I'm the only offer, try and get some, you know, some advantages for my buyer, right? So some advantages might be, hey, you've got 30 days to find suitable housing. Hey, you've got 30 days, and after 30 days, you've got to drop the price of the house by 10%. And we want to see it then drop another 10% every 30 days thereafter. Or excuse me, what am I talking about? That would be on the other side. I'm getting ahead of myself. If I had a house to sell and we were trying to get my offer accepted, you could use that clause that, hey, every 30 days I will drop my price by $10,000. Get my strategies mixed up. But for the buyer though, right? Just having some stuff, some assurity, because in this open ended, this is a great situation for Tracy, where she can just keep looking for housing, and the buyer is kind of like in a little bit of a limbo. So just wondering if anybody else been in a similar situation. How did you handle it, whether you're on the buy side or were you on the sell side, and what did you ask for? And we'll come back to my buyer side scenario. Anybody else recently do one of these, Lauren?
So I had one, I was on the sell side where we did have a suitable housing clause. It was a larger home and she was looking to go into something smaller like a condo. We did get a timeline from the buyers for the suitable housing because it was one of those chains where buying, selling, buying, selling. So we did have timelines on it. We had gotten pretty close to our timeline couple weeks away and we had not found something. This was last year, so still kind of competitive. Then had to have that conversation with my seller on what is your alternative plan? What is your plan B? Okay, we're looking at condos. We're not finding anything in the area that you really want to be in. Are you willing to look at staying with some family for a little bit? Are you interested in potentially renting for a little while and taking your time? So making sure that we had the conversation, knowing that, do we have a plan B and somewhere else we're going to stay? Are we willing to sort of let this contract time out and go back to just being back on the market? Like, what do you want to do? So there's some additional around there. She did end up deciding to stay with some family for a little while. She couldn't find what she wanted. She didn't want to rush into something, but felt like the deal that she had on the table was good enough. Didn't want to go back to market. Kind of want to be done with that chapter. So.
Yeah, that's a great share, right? Is preparing the buyer for, hey, can we keep this deal together? Because if we don't find something in the next 30 to 60 days or whatever your timeline is, yeah, okay, we'll still sell it to these guys. We like this deal. I'll go live with my in-laws. I'll go rent a place. I'll go do whatever other option you might have. So talking about their plan B is obviously pretty important. Anything else that we want to talk about when we've got that suitable housing clause when we're representing the seller here? Right, because from the buy side, you can get yourself in some trouble with spending some money if these buyers of Tracy's seller, they did their home inspection, they get their appraisal, and then Tracy's people just never find a house. Those buyers are out all that money. So we just want to be thinking ahead on how are we protecting our buyers? Do we have the leverage to protect our buyers? We might not, right? Tracy, if she had 5, 6 offers on the table, might say, we want you to do your home inspection up front. We want you to do the appraisal up front, make sure we don't have any issues. And we realize that we may not find suitable housing, but if you want this house, that's what we're expecting out of you. Any other thoughts on you've got a seller and it's subject to finding suitable housing? Any other topics that we want to hit? Scenario that you've run across?
I have done one other one where we ended up doing a leaseback to the seller because they could not get another home under property with the home sale contingencies. So that was not, right now marketed, was a little while ago, but that was how we had to handle that. And it worked in that scenario for that, set of parties, where once the home was closed, they were able to get something pretty quick because then they were able to write it, as a full cash offer almost, with no home sale contingency. And that was what they needed to be able to get into a home at that time. So.
Awesome. You are on point this morning, Lauren. This is a great share. I want to make sure everybody understands where she's coming from, right? So let's say Tracy's people can't find suitable housing, right? Or they're making offers, but because it's subject to the sale of their home, even though they have an accepted offer on it, they can't get their offers accepted, right? So they could choose, if Tracy's buyers were okay with this, they could choose to sell it to the buyers. They rent the property back to these sellers, so the buyers don't need to move in right away. They rent it back to Tracy's sellers, and now Tracy's sellers can do a cash offer when they go to buy, right? So this is the fun stuff, getting creative, putting stuff together, where there's advantages for everybody. Now, is every buyer going to be able to do that? No, right? But again, if Tracy's got leverage, hey, we're looking for a buyer that's willing to do the following, right? We want a buyer that is willing to lease it back to us. So now that we can get strong and make cash offers on the property that we're trying to get. Carolina.
So there are certain banks that, it's Westfield Bank, for example. Like if you have a home sale contingency, sometimes they will let you drop the contingency, put less down, and then restructure the loan after you sell the property. So, sorry, my dog. So I have clients right now, they were going to be a buy sell, but they got approved to only put, I think, like 3% down. And then once they sell their property a few weeks after closing on the house, they can restructure their loan, put more money down, so their payment isn't that high.
Yeah. I think you'll hear this referred to as a bridge loan. And some banks are going to be willing to do it, and some banks are not going to be willing to do it. A great share. Who else? Anybody else just have a scenario they want to just throw out there? Hey, we did it this way, or could you do it this way? Or all right, good. So I got ahead of myself before about the buyer dropping the price of their home. So where I was trying to go with that one is you've got a buyer that is looking to make an offer on a property, but with a home sale contingency. And so, hey, here's our offer, but we do have to sell our house. And there's obviously a bunch of different stages that can strengthen your offer here, right? Stage number one is I got to sell my house and it's not even on the market. Stage number two is I got to sell my house, it's on the market. Stage number three is I got to sell my house, it's on the market and under agreement. The next stage is it's on the market, under agreement, and through inspections. And an even stronger stage would be it's on the market, it's under agreement, it's through inspections, and the buyers have their mortgage commitment. But yes, I still have a house to sell, but that's completely different than I have a house to sell and I haven't even listed it yet. But one of the things that you could do in that scenario is say, hey, you know, we're so confident that we're going to sell our house. If it doesn't sell in the first 2 weeks, we'll drop it by $10,000, $20,000, whatever it is, a number that would be reasonable based on the list price. So to say, hey, Mr. Seller, you know, you can be confident that we are going to do everything in our power to sell this house. And obviously, if you're the listing agent, you want to be asking questions like, hey, when you come to market, what's the list price going to be, right? Maybe even, can I come over and take a look at the condition before we accept your offer, right? You're asking 300,000, you know, and the top houses in that market get 300,000, but the condition that yours is in, it's 200,000. So this thing's never going to sell. So now I'm accepting an offer subject to you selling your house, and it's never going to move. Right? So do the digging, ask the questions. In this scenario, what else have people done when you've got the buyer to give some confidence to the seller that, hey, we mean business. Yes, we have a house to sell, but we mean business here. Anything else coming to mind? Jen.
So I've been on both sides. And for the buy side, we did not have it listed yet. And I was going to be listing it. And I showed all the comps of how quick the houses were selling in the area and what was better about this house. We did say we would drop it X amount if it didn't get any activity within the first 2 weeks. And after the first 2 weeks, they were going to do an additional deposit also for the earnest money to help strengthen it. I don't think what else we did to strengthen it. I mean, we did a lot of communication. The agent liked seeing all the comps, you know, of what's going in the area, how quick they're selling. And we got it all done. Both,
Did you end up having to drop the price?
no, they had activity and offers within the first like 3 days, 4 days. Yeah.
Good. Anybody else with a share around this? All right. I'll give you a little update from yesterday where we're talking surveys. And so kind of did some reach out to an attorney to just get some feedback on when our survey is getting ordered. And surprisingly, it seems to be a state by state type of a thing. All mortgage companies and all title companies are not necessarily requiring this stuff. So it really is, it seems like for a lot of states, just going to be a choice for the buyer. The attorney may have them sign a waiver that, hey, you've chosen not to do a survey. But, you know, I think clearly if there's all these, you know, most towns have these GIS maps where you can get on a website and take a look and see if there appears to be any issues. Obviously, if you had something that you know, there's a fence, there's a garage that seems like, man, that could be on the property line, or there's a shed, or there's a barn, or whatever the case might be, you know, it might be worth bringing this up to your buyers to say, hey, you might want to get a survey on this one if nobody's requiring them to do so. Sue.
When I went back to the attorney about the surveying, she told me that office, does it on all sales. So I don't know if it's, specific to attorneys or, it was Attorney Sheehan's office, our preferred, and
Yeah.
she does it for all sales, all deals that for surveys.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it seemed to me like your attorney should be recommending surveys. I don't see, it's a few $100 just to be sure that there's no issues. Go ahead, sir.
My two family that I sold, I think a year and a half ago, what ended up coming out of the survey is that there were 6 feet that belonged to the buyer, but there was a fence up. So it made it look like it was the neighbor's property. So in that case, she ended up with 6 more feet in her backyard and I think 2 or 3 feet on one side of the house. So it's a good thing.
They ended up having the neighbor move. Did they end up having the neighbor move the fence?
She took it down. The neighbor, there was just a bunch of overgrown stuff. So I don't know if the current seller just didn't want to see it or didn't want to deal with that 6 feet. But she ended up taking it down and cleaning it up and, added more space to her yard.
Yeah. Weirdest one I had. Go ahead, Lauren.
Sorry, I was just gonna say, so if the fence there in that instance, Sue, belonged to the people who are selling the house, that is pretty common. People don't usually put their fence right on their line, right? It's usually a few feet back.
Yeah, this was 6 feet though, not, 2 feet or 3 feet. It was
Yeah.
6 feet.
Yeah, that's a lot. I had one, and this was in West Springfield. The driveway was made out of pavers. They were like maybe, I don't know, 6-inch by 4-inch pavers, but it wasn't like a typical paver patio where they were all nice and tight. They were really spread out, and there was grass growing in between them. But the last 2 rows of pavers were on the neighbor's property. So the seller literally, I had the buyer, and the seller literally had to just remove the last 2 rows of pavers prior to closing. So there can be some weird stuff. Any other questions around the pavers? I mean, the surveys, Jesus Christ. I anybody notice I'm having a shake this morning instead of my coffee? I have a coffee meeting at 9:15, and I think I just can't focus without my morning coffee, I'm realizing. So let's just open it up. Anybody have any just general shares, roundtable stuff that you want to talk about? All right.
It's the one I talked to you about yesterday. So we're getting ready to close on a home, and lo and behold, 3 days before closing, they find out there's a 50-year gap in part of the title where something wasn't done properly 50 years ago. It ways one of our preferred attorneys trying to find a way around it that whoever the heirs was, because basically this home has been passed down from mother to cousin to brother to uncle to whoever. It's been in the family the whole time. And so something wasn't, done right, and there was no probate court found either. And one of the ways to get around it was, hey, can we get the death certificates and the last heir, as long as they've been dead for more than 25 years, it would have been fine. But of course, it's 21 years. So now we're going to have to wait to close 6 to 8 weeks because it has to go through probate. And the moral of the story is, tell your clients this scenario could have been easily avoided if all they did was buy title insurance. We would have been done. The title company would have taken it over. We could have closed on time. So that's my scenario.
A couple of things here. If in this situation, Martin's on the buy side, right? But if you're on the sell side and there's been a change of ownership, there's been a death in the family, you really got to get a probate attorney involved early on to figure out if we need to start the process. If somehow you're on the buy side and you're aware of something like that, we need to see if the sell side can start that process. Get a probate attorney involved to see what needs to be done. And then the final piece is regarding the title insurance. I will tell you, my brother does a lot of transactions a year with his flipping business. And it seems like multiple times a year, he buys the title insurance every time. I don't know what he's doing, 20 flips a year, and 2 or 3 are having a title issue. And I don't know that a title company has fixed any of them yet. So I'm just preparing you guys that just because you bought title insurance doesn't mean the title company is going to step up to the plate and get the job done and fix the problem. They have really turned their head more times than not, said, hey, not our problem. And there's been umpteen different things that have happened. And somehow him and his attorney need to try and fix things or buy people out or whatever the case might be. It's been interesting to hear the different stories. I'll have to try and get them on sometime maybe to kind of talk through. But yeah, I don't want you to just think like you said, Martin, that if you just had title insurance, this would have just gone away, because that's definitely not the case.
I'm just quoting the lawyer, that's all.
Yeah, yeah. Which is all well and good to say that until you see that that's not how it actually plays out. You know, because that is what the lawyers are going to do when they make a commission on the title insurance. And it seems like it's the right thing to do as a buyer. Like, I would think you'd want title insurance. Both, you know, the mortgage company is going to require theirs, but then owner's title as well. But I'm just telling you from firsthand experience, it's not resolving some of the issues that can come up. So any other title insurance questions or probate questions, or somebody else just have a different scenario you want to bring to the table of something that you're dealing with?
So if the home is left to the children with the right for the parent to live there, does that still have to go through probate, or the
parent is still alive?
Yeah, still alive, living in the home, and it's already been, you know, changed at the city that the 3 children or 4 or how many children,
Yeah.
it's been put in their names with a living will, a living estate.
I don't believe that's going to trigger the need for probate, but
Okay.
I'm definitely not an attorney and I definitely don't know the ins and outs. And if there is any inclination, guys, that there's a change in hands or anything like this, I would have an attorney take a look at it and just verify, because you don't want to end up in the situation like Martin, where you're 3 days away from closing and now we find out we can't close. So don't take my word on this one for sure, unless somebody else 100% knows this scenario on the call. I would say you really gotta, and even then,
So
I would
it
check with an
depends.
attorney.
It depends on if the parent is still on the deed or not. So if the parent was taken off the deed and it's just the kids, then no, it won't need to go through probate when the parent passes. But if the parent is still on the deed along with the kids, it will still have to go through probate.
And with no passing, nothing should trigger, right? If she's still alive.
Correct.
Yeah. Martin.
One other thing I learned on this deal that I didn't realize was, hey, you think, okay, they can't provide clean title, we can walk away, but I didn't realize they have 30 days in the contract to come up with a clean title. So my buyers are basically stuck for the next 30 days.
That's a great share, because oftentimes we're not reading, every clause in these purchase and sales. And I don't think every purchase and sale is going to have that language, but I would say more often than not, there's going to be some sort of a time for the seller to cure any title issues. Anybody else dealing with something that would be a good share, good learning opportunity? What'd you learn on a recent deal that others should hear about? Keely.
Good morning. Yeah, so I have a listing in Agawam that a buyer pulled out because it was taking long. And unfortunately, someone dropped the ball, either the attorney or the court system, in a paper shuffle apparently. So it was we never got a docket number or anything. So it was like 9 weeks. So the buyer, understandably so, backed out. I called my other the other agents for buyers. So I got another one reset. And I think I brought this up on a call a few weeks back, but I did talk to Kate, and it does reset
Keely,
the
I just
clock.
want
Oh, yeah.
let me just
Are you there?
you cut out there a little bit. So, yeah, you cut out a little bit.
Oh,
So let me just, I think, summarize what I think you've got. You listed a property. It's got to go through probate, missed some paperwork, lost the buyer, got a new buyer.
Yep. And can you hear me
And
now?
clock is starting over. Yep, and clock is starting
That's-
over now in the
Yes,
probate
that's
process.
correct. Yes, and it starts over.
Yeah, and so you
I didn't
weren't
realize
able
that,
to just right, and you weren't just able to get a new offer approved.
no. And the agent, the buyer's agent asked to use the original purchase and sale. And I'm like, no, we can't do that. So she wanted just to use the first purchase and sale because they were the first buyer that we had and accepted the offer. And he fell through because of financing, but now he has cash. So it's a cash deal. So we couldn't do that. That's what. Has anybody used like a former buyer's old like P&S? Oh God, am I like totally?
No,
not-
we're hearing you.
Okay, no, sorry, I thought
Yeah,
maybe
we're
I
hearing
got
you.
cut out. So I'm
We're
just
hearing you.
wondering if anybody used a purchase and sale agreement that was terminated and now they came back, with the same offer, but now it's cash.
Yeah. So what you just do? They were just proposing that you just do an addendum with a new
Yes.
closing date or something.
Correct. Yeah, I'm just.
Yeah.
And the transaction coordinator's like, no, we need a whole new P&S. So I'm like, okay, that's fine. But the buyer's agent was saying, why can't we use the previous P&S? So I don't know if anybody has
Yeah,
any.
I
thoughts
can't
on
remember
that?
specifically doing this, but if you could get all parties to agree, sign some sort of an addendum that we are reenacting the original purchase and sale, I
Right.
think that would be okay. I mean, at that point, maybe just signing a new purchase and sale is just as easy. Get a clean
Yeah.
doc going. So
Okay. Yeah. And now it starts over. So now we have to wait another 6 weeks. Maybe longer.
Did you get any clarification on why the process needed to start over?
Because it's a new buyer. They had to submit it again to probate. So they have to like hand deliver it to probate apparently.
Is this
I don't know.
Connecticut?
No, this is Mass. And I've
Okay.
never dealt with probate before, so I'm just like, this is kind of new for me.
Because I
So
thought in Massachusetts you can submit probate prior to having an executed contract. I know in Connecticut you need to have the executed P&S to start the probate process because you need to hand that in. So
Mhm.
I think if it's already going through probate in Massachusetts, it should still be able to continue. I don't know if it needs to start over again, but with the P&S question, it's a legal document. So I would just leave it up to the attorneys if they want to keep that
Oh.
P&S and do an addendum. It's legal. It's not you. You
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
create the purchase and sale,
Yep. Okay. Yeah, I
Yeah.
just
Did
we
you-
started a new one, but at the end of the day, that's good to know moving forward if that's an option.
Are you sure, Keely, that you're asking a probate attorney, not just a real estate attorney, about this probate question? It's just, I'm
Yes.
not understanding.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I did, and I've been asking her, and she said, no, it resets the clock with this new offer. So
Yeah.
I don't.
I'm going to just do some digging. This is Massachusetts, you said, right?
It's Mass, Agawam, yep.
Yes. Yeah. Okay.
If you know
And-
anything
and
differently,
guys,
let
it
me
just-
know, just because
Yeah,
I'm, you know,
and
I'm
just,
just,
this approach, guys, has gotten me a lot of deals put together that were falling apart by just not accepting an answer and just asking more questions. Ask somebody else, find something, find a regulation, find a law. Like, just don't necessarily take no for an answer. And this might be, hey, there's something that I'm not aware of, and that's fine. But I've definitely gotten told no by one person, whether it's an attorney, it's a lender, it's a home inspector, it's an appraiser. And I just push the envelope, ask a couple more questions, ask somebody else, get a different opinion. All of a sudden, I got myself a deal. And we're not waiting another 6 to 8 weeks, because somebody didn't realize that, oh, there's this, procedure that you can do on a probate deal where it doesn't have to reset the clock if you do X, Y, and Z. And the person had never heard of that procedure before. I'm just making something up. But the reality is, sometimes people don't necessarily know what all the options are. So if you're trying to fight for something and you hear a no, don't just stop at one person hearing a no. And just ask somebody else, hey, I heard this from one attorney. It didn't seem right to me. Is there any other workarounds that you might be aware of? And just, nope, hey, that's definitely how it works. Okay. Have you been in this exact scenario? This is what happened. This is how it played out. Be very specific with your questions. All right, guys.
they did,
We are,
I'm sorry.
go ahead, Kaylee.
Oops, sorry. I was just gonna say, they do have an option apparently if all the sisters signed a waiver. And then it would go through more quickly, but that's what the attorney said as well, but they're not doing that, taking that option.
the sisters that
don't know
already
why.
agreed, they already
Correct.
agreed on the first one, and they're not taking that option this time?
Yeah, they're not waiving it. So Kate told me that they could possibly waive it. But their attorney said, Nikolai said they cannot waive it. So there's something I'm not understanding, obviously. So
Yeah,
anyway, sorry about that.
that's all right. No, this is a great share. It just, brings up a good point that I don't like taking no for an answer, and it's worked out probably more times than not. If I just dig and ask and see if I can come up with an alternate method. So, all right, guys, great shares today. Have yourselves a killer Wednesday, and we'll talk to you all again tomorrow morning. Take care.
Thank you. Bye.
Have a good one.